So there is something known as the art of being unoffended. And to master this art, you must know that most of people's actions, reactions, and statements to you are based on their own fears, conclusions, and defenses. Now, most of what is directed at you by people is mostly based on their own personal pain, their inadequacies, and their defenses. And I've seen one thing over time that people expend themselves responding to these offenses. They become so offended by it. You know, one of the things that I want to talk about is my own personal journey. I always like making examples with my experiences. Some years ago, I worked in an organization where my boss did not like me. But one thing with me is like I realized early on that you don't have to like me for me to function properly. I've accepted that. We can coexist, we can complement each other professionally without really liking each other. It's fine with me. I don't care about being likable. I care about productivity. So one thing I noticed about him was like he took out time to ensure that he bashes me. He would typically call me to his office and tell me how I've not been impactful, I've not been valuable to the organization, I still have a lot to do. And usually I'll come back to my own office livid, deflated, and basically his words would affect my productivity through the end of the day or sometimes the end of the week. And I kept asking myself, what was I doing wrong? And to ensure that it wasn't from me, like what he's saying about me was actually not true, I began to measure my results to of the set of goals that the organization had. And I also asked my colleagues, like, how is this done? And I realized head on that I was actually performing way above the expectation of the organization. And I was asking myself, why was this person doing this? And it was then and I realized that this person is a grossly inadequate person. He was grossly deficient in his tasks as a leader, and he was threatened by my own professionalism. He was threatened by my own talent and skill, and he didn't know how to do about it. So he projected his insecurities, on me. So when I learned that immediately, it was like a switch went off in my head. I was like, oh my God, this person is taking advantage of my energy. And so it takes me to my second point. People who project their negativity with you, they sense your energy. Once they give you negativity, they expect negativity in return. And when they do that, they typically would want to draw from your own energy and they thrive on it. So I immediately cut that off. Whenever he would tell me something negative, I'll just probably smile or not react at all. And then the third thing I did was to use him as a stepping stone, as a pedestal, because I knew that I was going to experience more people like him in life. And so I used him to build my tenacity, to build my people skill, you know. And this leads me to my last point, the point that you cannot remain in such environments for too long. You set goals for yourself, what you need to achieve when you find yourself in such negative environments by not being offended. You set for yourself goals and skills. And then whenever you've learned what you need to learn, you move on from it because you cannot remain in a toxic environment. I leave you with the words of Scott Clary. He says, being unoffendable is a superpower. Use it to your advantage. I am not a motivational speaker. I am simply speaking the truth.